There's a position in every family that few truly understand, but everyone recognizes when they see it. It's the place of the one who always takes the blame, who absorbs everyone's anger, who becomes the repository of family frustrations, the scapegoat. And what if I told you that this position, as painful as it may be, carries within it the greatest potential for transformation in the entire lineage? Jung discovered something revolutionary about family systems. He realized that every family possesses a collective shadow, a set of rejected aspects that need to be projected onto someone for the system to maintain a false balance. And who receives this projection? The most sensitive, the most conscious, the one who, ironically, has the greatest capacity to see the truth. You who grew up being the family's problem, you who were always different, you who carried the weight of blame that wasn't yours, need to know something fundamental. Your pain is no accident. Your position isn't bad luck. You were chosen by the family's own psyche to be the bearer of a sacred mission that neither you nor your family fully comprehend. But Jung went beyond this discovery. He showed that there is a way out, a path that not only liberates the scapegoat but transforms the entire family dynamic. And today, you're going to learn about this path. You're going to discover how your greatest wound can become your greatest strength. You feel it, don't you? That feeling that it was always you against everyone. That ever since you were little you carried a weight you couldn't name. That even when you tried to be perfect, you were still the one who received the harshest criticisms, the most judgmental looks, the most impossible expectations. How many times did you ask yourself why it was always you? Why, in an argument between siblings, were you the only one who took the hit? Why, when something went wrong in the house, did everyone automatically look at you? Why were your achievements minimized and your mistakes amplified as if they were catastrophes? Look inward now. How many times did you try to change to please? How many masks did you wear trying to find a version of yourself that would be accepted? How many times did you swallow your truth, suffocate your authenticity, deny your own perception of reality, just to avoid being rejected once more? And even then, even with all that adaptation, you continued to be the problem. Because it wasn't about you being problematic. It was about you being the mirror that reflected the unhealed wounds of the entire family. Your sensitivity exposed the falsehood. Your authenticity denounced the masks. Your pain screamed the truths everyone preferred to silence. Do you recognize this wound? It burns, doesn't it? It's because you were programmed to carry the shadow of generations. But today, that programming dies here. Today you discover not only how to break this pattern, but how to become the healer of your own lineage. To understand how to break the cycle, first, you need to comprehend what truly happens in the scapegoat dynamic. Jung would call this the projection of the collective shadow. Imagine a family as an organism that produces emotional toxins, unprocessed traumas, repressed angers, hidden shames, ancestral fears. All this psychic material needs to go somewhere. In healthy families, each member would process their own shadow. But in dysfunctional families, there's a collective defense mechanism. All this toxicity is dumped onto a single member. The scapegoat becomes the family's emotional filter, the repository of everything others don't want to feel or acknowledge in themselves. That's why you were always different. That's why you always felt more. That's why you always questioned more. Your psyche was forged to be more porous, more receptive, more conscious, not as punishment, but as a mission. You are the family's censor, the one who detects the lies, the hypocrisies, the buried secrets. The family narcissist needs you to feel superior. The addict needs you to avoid looking at their addiction. The codependent needs you to have someone to save. Each family member projects onto you exactly what they cannot face in themselves. And you, in your innocence, absorb all of this as if it were true about who you are. But here's the secret that changes everything. The scapegoat is always the strongest in the family. They have to be. To carry everyone's shadow, to survive constant rejection, to maintain sanity, even while being constantly invalidated, requires extraordinary psychic strength. Your pain is the measure of your resilience. Your wound is proof of your courage. Now that you understand the dynamic, it's time for alchemy, the time to transform, lead into gold. These are the 5 ways the scapegoat becomes the cycle breaker. The first way is the recognition of psychological truth. Stop accepting the family narrative about who you are. You are not problematic. You are not difficult. You are not oversensitive. You are the bearer of the family's truth. Your intense emotional reaction isn't instability, it's authenticity in a false environment. Start naming what you see. When a family member explodes at you over something insignificant, recognize this person is projecting their own repressed anger. When they minimize your achievements, recognize they need you to be smaller for them to feel bigger. When they invalidate your feelings, recognize your feelings are valid. They are the ones who can't handle the intensity of the truth. Write this down. Document the patterns. Take mental snapshots of moments of projection. Each time you recognize the mechanism in action, you strip away some of the power it has over you. Awareness is the first step toward liberation. The second way is the refusal to carry what isn't yours. This is perhaps the most difficult, because you've been trained since childhood to absorb others' shadows like a sponge. But it's time to learn to say no, not just with words, but with energy, with posture, with presence. When someone tries to dump their frustration on you, don't absorb it. Visualize an energetic barrier around you. Imagine you're wearing an armor of light that doesn't allow others' emotional toxicity to penetrate your field. Tell yourself, this is not mine. This anger is not mine. This guilt is not mine. This shame is not mine. Practice returning the projection consciously. When someone says you're too sensitive, respond, maybe the problem isn't me feeling too much, but you feeling too little. When they say you're dramatic, respond, maybe the drama isn't in me expressing what I feel, but in you denying what you feel. It's not cruelty. It's medicine. You are not just healing yourself, but forcing others to look at their own shadows. The third way is connection with your inner strength. For years you believed you were weak because you broke under pressure. But breaking isn't weakness when you're carrying the weight of an entire family. It's heroic resilience. Now it's time to recognize that strength and direct it consciously. Connect with the inner child who survived all of this. Look at them with compassion and admiration. They didn't just survive. They kept the truth alive when everyone around them lied. They kept love alive when everyone around them hurt. They kept hope alive when everyone around them gave up. This child is the bearer of your authentic power. Dialogue with them. Ask what they need to hear. Ask what they always wanted someone to recognize. Ask what dreams they hold in their heart. And then become the adult they always needed. Now we come to the two most powerful forms of transformation. The fourth way is to become the conscious mirror. Instead of unconsciously absorbing the family's shadow, you will begin to reflect it consciously. When someone projects anger onto you, you will return that anger with awareness. I see that you are angry, but this anger has nothing to do with me. It has to do with something you're not looking at within yourself. When someone tries to make you feel guilty, you will reflect the guilt back. I perceive that you are trying to make me feel guilty, but that guilt is yours, not mine. When someone invalidates your feelings, you will validate your own. My feelings are valid. And if that bothers you, perhaps it's time for you to look at your own repressed feelings. You are not being cruel. You are being surgical. You are cutting the energetic threads that bind you to the role of the family's shadow repository. You are returning to each person what has always been theirs. And observe what happens. Initially, there will be resistance. The family will try to punish you for no longer accepting the role. They will call you ungrateful, cruel, selfish. But this is just the desperation of a system trying to maintain its dysfunctional balance. Stand firm. Healing always seems cruel to those accustomed to illness. The fifth and most powerful way is to become the ancestral healer. This is the supreme alchemy. When you break the pattern within yourself, you are not only freeing yourself, you are healing past generations and protecting future generations. You become the interruption point in the transmission of pain. Understand that your family didn't create this dynamic consciously. They inherited patterns from their own families, who inherited from their families, in a chain of pain that extends for generations. Someone in the lineage was always the scapegoat. Someone always carried everyone's shadow. But you are different. You have consciousness. You have the tools. You have the courage to look at the shadow and integrate it instead of projecting it. When you do this, you break the pattern forever. Your children will not be scapegoats. Your grandchildren will not carry the ancestral shadow. The healing begins with you and radiates throughout the entire lineage. Begin to send healing energy to your ancestors. Imagine your great-grandmothers, your great-great-grandmothers, all those who were also scapegoats in their families. Send them the understanding you are acquiring. Tell them, the cycle ends here, the pain stops here, Consciousness begins here, and then become the conscious guardian of family truth, not the repository of the shadow, but the bearer of light. Use your sensitivity not to absorb toxicity, but to radiate healing. Use your difference not to isolate yourself, but to show new paths. Use your strength not to resist attacks, but to create a new reality. Now that you know the 5 ways, it's time to integrate them through inner practice. Grab a notebook and start a dialogue with the part of you that has always carried this pain. Ask it, what do you most need to hear right now? What did you always want someone to recognize about your journey? Write without censorship. Let this part of you speak freely about the injustice, about the pain, about the anger of having carried what wasn't yours. Completely validate that experience. Tell it, you're right. It was unfair. You didn't deserve this. You are innocent. Then ask your inner wisdom, how can I use this experience to become stronger? How can I transform this pain into power? How can I use this sensitivity as a superpower instead of a weakness? Practice the energetic mirror exercise. For a week, whenever someone tries to project something onto you, take a deep breath and mentally return the projection. Imagine a mirror between you and the person. Everything they try to throw at you, the mirror reflects back to them. And finally, practice ancestral connection. Every night before going to sleep, send healing energy to your entire lineage. Imagine a golden light coming from your heart and spreading through time, reaching all your ancestors who were scapegoats, bringing them the healing you are achieving. You've come this far because something within you always knew there was a greater purpose to your pain. There was indeed. You are not a victim of the family system. You are its healer. You are not the family's problem. You are its solution. You are not the weakest. You are the strongest. You are not the rejected. You are the chosen. Your journey from scapegoat to cycle breaker is not just a personal transformation. It is a sacred mission. It is the alchemy of pain into wisdom, of wound into strength, of rejection into liberation. You carried everyone's shadow so you could learn to transform it into light. Now you know who you truly are. Now you know your true power. Now you have the tools to break not only your own cycle, but the cycle of entire generations. You are the turning point in your family's history. You are the healing your lineage has always awaited. Comment which of the 5 ways touched your heart the most, like if you recognized your strength where you always saw weakness. Subscribe to continue discovering the power that exists in your difference. The journey from scapegoat to cycle breaker begins now. And it begins with you recognizing the most fundamental truth of all. You have always been the healer, always been the strong one, always been the chosen one. Integrate yourself.